Hey guys, King of Triumphs here, to be your judge, your jury, and your analyst, and today I bring to you the freaking Halloween Cup is coming back for the 19th bazillion time. Well, not the 19th bazillion time, but when the season comes around and it's October, guess what? It's the Halloween Cup. So there you go, Halloween Cup version 6 or something like that. But Halloween Cup is returning, and it really hasn't changed that much at all. Just more poison types and Toxapex. You have that weird dark poison archetype with Hissing Quillfish and his swaying Quillfish, and it's really weird. This is a really weird meta with the new fishes coming in, but you're probably not going to see them a lot because poison is still destroyed by the ground types, as in Toxicroak's Mud Bomb. And you have Alola Marowak's Bone Club. Well, Marowak's Bone Club doesn't matter too much, but yes. You also have things like Reniragus, where it's literally going to Sand Tomb you to Oblivion against these poison types. So it's very interesting how this meta is going to play out with the few new additions. But other than that, it's still pretty much relatively the same. Meta is still meta, and the meta is still very, very powerful. But before we get started, it's me, my therapist, mental health tip of the day, and no need to skip ahead because this is a really quick one. Make sure you check up on your friends and family. It is literally almost Halloween, and you never know, because make sure y'all call your friends and your family and make sure you check up on them so that you check up on your relationships and you make sure everyone's doing good and everyone's Gucci. And it's also my birthday in like 3 weeks too, so I'm probably gonna get a lot of people calling me and checking up on me like, happy birthday, and then this is me, I'm like, okay, I just want food, and then I'm done. Yay. Birthdays get kind of, yeah, it's not that I don't appreciate my birthday, it's just like, after so many times, and my military were my fun birthday days, and after it kind of just got old, and I just want food. I don't care about presents, just give me food. Anyways, yes, check out your friends and family, and without further ado, these are my top 5 teams for the upcoming Halloween Cup, and without further ado, let's get started. Alright, first off, we got Shadow Nidoqueen, Azumarill, and Sableye. Yes, Azu's still a really good safe switch, given you don't actually run into a Shadow Nidoqueen. If you take out the poison type in a lead, or if they're not running like ABB poison, this could work really well. Otherwise, if you see Nidoqueen lead, or if unless Nidoqueen loses really hard of whatever you're up against, like a Frostus, for example, you could use Azumarill or Sableye as a safe switch. So either one kind of works, but this kind of like double safe switch. Even though there's plenty of poison types right now, for some stupid reason, Azu is still really good. For those of you that have played Halloween Cup, Azu is ridiculously still good as a safe switch, as a closer, pretty much in any position, because that's just how meta is. In fact, the only thing that really gives this team a hard time is probably Golbat, but Golbat versus Azu isn't super bad, just because of the fact that Azu can still pressure with Ice Beam, and unless Sableye gets hit with a Shadow Ball, it can rev up with Shadow Claws. So in the 2-shield scenario, Golbat isn't actually too comfortable against Sableye. If you look at the sim here, Golbat actually loses the 2-shield against Sableye, because you could just go straight Foul Play, so don't know why it says all your teaming can beat it, but this is assuming the 1 shield. So that's why it's kind of really dicey. Again, Golbat's kind of your big issue here. You can go ahead and send in Azu, try to break shields, and then farm down with Sableye, and hopefully Shadow Nidoqueen can close out. But still a really solid team overall grade-wise. This is actually this was one of the top teams in the top ratings, even though it was kind of weird. But this is pretty much like an open Great League super meta team. You have Shadow Nidoqueen, Azu, Sableye. And in the Halloween Cup, like I mentioned, Azu is still really good. And Sableye is still a beast. And this is pretty much like open Great League super meta. Or, yeah, this used to be a top Halloween Cup team from a previous season as well. Next up, we have Shadow Marowak, Nidoqueen, and Frostless. So this one's using Hex. The reason I'm using Hex is because all the crazy wild Fire Fang users out there should be discouraged because of Toxapex, because Toxapex and just Mawile is going to get destroyed for the most part. Now you can, but what I'm trying to say is Shadow Alola Marowak is still really freaking good, and that's why it's a number 4 lead in PvPoke.com and overall. The thing about it is Hex Shadow Bone hurts a lot. I don't want to use Fire Spin. The reason I want to use Hex is, yes, Umbreon gives you a hard time, but you're going to lose against Umbreon anyways. And with Hex, you can pressure things like Jellicent, and you can also pressure things like Alolan, like Mawile, just because you still get stabbed, but you're still gonna do neutral damage. Plus with Hex, you could run Fire Blast, and it only takes you to get 3 hexes to get to a Bone Club in comparison to Fire Spin. Amazing coverage, and Alolan Marowak can pressure a lot with Shadow Bone damage just because it does so much with Shadow. As you see here, even though Jellicent wins a 2-shield, it's still not comfortable. And you could go, and as you see, you could try to double bait, or you could just go straight Shadow Bone. If you go straight Shadow Bone against Jellicent, that if you don't fall for the Bubble Beam bait, as you see, with straight Shadow Bone, you can cause a simultaneous knockout. So that's a given if your opponent goes straight Bubble Beam, but as you see, you could force a simultaneous knockout just going straight Shadow Bone. And that's, you can actually win if you get one of the debuffs here in Sandbox mode, you can actually outright win this matchup. So, as long as you get one debuff with Shadow Bone, you can win straight Shadow Bone. So that's why I like Hex on Alolan Marowak. Pretty decent threat score with Jellicent. I kind of confused, like, I already showed you what the Jellicent matches does in the 2-shield straight Shadow Bone. Against Toxapex is a little rough just as it's so tanky, but as you see here, you can kind of just finish your way through. You can try to Shadow Bone and Bone Club your way to victory. Brine does a lot of damage, but as you see here, you could still deal a ton of damage before it goes down. And that's given if you don't get any of your Shadow Bone debuffs anyways, like I mentioned. So what you can do is give up a Alolan Marowak and a lead against Toxapex, and then you can go ahead and farm Toxapex down, and then just have a bunch of energy to throw at your opponent in the back row. So really flexible team. You lose the lead, Neoqueen's your safe switch, or you can safe switch in the process. With this team, you could use like 2-shield Alolan Marowak strat or 2-shield Frostless strat. Alright, next up we have ABB. This is Shadow Nidoqueen, Manabuzz, and Umbreon. For Umbreon, you can use Psychic if you want to. Last Resort helps in the mirror, but with all the poison running out here, Psychic can possibly give you a win condition. So Psychic Umbreon, yes, you can use it over here, and it does give you a better matchup. If you switch it from Last Resort to Psychic, this is what you get. Not too much of a difference. In fact, you get better coverage. With the only thing giving you a hard time is Alolan Ninetales, and this is kind of weird because in the 2-shield, A9 hates freaking Nidoqueen. Even if you have Powder Snow, that poison jab damage adds up, especially with those debuffs. But this is in the 1-shield, but yes. With Psychic Umbreon, you could use either one, but Psychic Umbreon is a beast. And as you see, this team gives you amazing bulk and coverage against a lot of things. And I already covered what Ninetales does to you. You can sack Shadow Nidoqueen against Frostless. You can try to Earth Power through shields. In the 2-shield, Frostless can actually lose, but it's a 1 turn of difference. So it's very risky. As you see, you could straight Poison Fang your way through Frostless, but it's very IV dependent. So it's kind of, you don't know what your opponent's IVs are anyways. So if you get Frostless, you could choose to 2-shield your way to victory. This is probably the team I found the most that's really solid, just because, as you see, not only do you have amazing bulk, but it gives you great chance. This team covers each other so well, and with all the new poison types running around, Psychic Umbreon is a beast. And your back row is very tanky, so this team can do very well for you. This also used to be this used to be one of the top teams in Open Great League as well. Nidoqueen Double Dark was a top Open Great League team, and for this cup, it does really well, and I think it is statistically the best ABB team for the Halloween Cup. Alright, next up we have Umbreon, Frostless, and Toxapex. Umbreon is a great lead, and Frostless and Toxapex will cover that Toxicroak weakness that Umbreon struggles against. Mind you, Umbreon also struggles in the 2-shield against Nidoqueen, but if you're able to Psychic through shields, you have a good chance of taking out Nidoqueen. As you see here, this team loves to see poison types. As you see, Nidoqueen, literally Nidoqueen, Golbat, and Toxapex, the three of the top meta, absolutely hate seeing this, and Umbreon with Psychic is very, very good. In fact, this team is so good, literally, Fortress and Crocodile are your 2 worst nightmares. Well, Fortress isn't that bad. Umbreon just can straight out play through. It's just Fortress has super effective damage, and Frostless and Toxapex's Poison Fangs and Poison Jabs are resistant. So Fortress can actually be really good for the Halloween Cup. But at the same time, if you see Mawile or if you see Shadow Marowak, you're going to die pretty dang fast. So that's why Fortress is kind of scary to use. Also, Pawniard can give you a hard time. Pawniard is a very annoying mon because it can wall you, but also getting a Great League Pawniard is super annoying because you have to hatch one and then you have to power it up to Oblivion, and it gives you a really hard time. but the 2-shield with Pawniard actually isn't that bad. It takes a whole whooping 1 minute and 40 seconds for this thing to kill you. 1 minute and 40 freaking seconds, and not only that, you come out of the matchup with 13 HP. So you could sack Umbreon in the lead and farm down with your back row, and Frostless with energy lead is dead. So you could literally sack Umbreon in the lead, send in Frostless, farm it down, and Frostless goes to town against your opponent's back row, which means you have a really great time. But like I mentioned, Pawniard isn't that bad, and Umbreon also, this team loves to see poison types because most of the poison types will do very bad against Umbreon or Frostless, just because they do heavy damage, or with Umbreon with Psychic, which is probably going to be the third moveset for Umbreon, is going to do very well for you in the Halloween Cup. Alright, and last but not least, we have Toxicroak, Golbat, and Umbreon. This is actually my main team from last time Halloween Cup was around, and I loved using Toxicroak to beat the unholy crap out of yeah, I love seeing Umbreon leads, and then you could use Sludge Bomb to force shields, and then Golbat does really well against those Nido Queens. And I love the fact that you can Sludge Bomb your ways and destroy all your fairies. And Toxicroak punching things to death is so satisfying. You can use Psychic on Umbreon. However, if you do use Psychic, be aware that you lose against a lot of things. Wormadam Trash, there's win conditions against Wormadam Trash. However, it's very dicey because you either have to Shadow Ball through shield with Golbats, and then you farm down with Umbreon or try to make something happen, and that's literally, you have to finish your way through with Shadow Golbat. But I've beaten Wormadam leads with this team before. Frostless can also give you a hard time as well, just because it beats Toxicroak and Golbat, but I've beaten Frostless before. What I do is I'll send in Golbat, and then I try to send in Umbreon to farm it down and do some damage, and Toxicroak can hopefully close out against the back row. Again, this was the team I used a lot during the last time I was around, and did very well for me, just because Toxicroak and Shadow Golbat do very well together, oddly. It's because of Toxicroak's coverage, and Golbat's Shadow Ball does big damage and does give you a win condition against Wormadam Trash, even though Wormadam Trash is very dangerous for your lead and your safe switch. But pretty solid team. If you like Toxicroak, this team is very good for you, and it utilizes pretty much the best lead and the best safe switch. And then you have Umbreon to close out. I like Psychic Umbreon better, like, for this time around. Well, hold on, why do I have Last Resort Psychic? That's why my rating's so weird. I'm like, why is it like that? But as you see here, with that, you only have Azumarill and Mandibuzz as your greatest threats. With Azumarill, you could try to Sludge Bomb through shields. With Mandibuzz, you can send in Shadow Golbat and try to Poison Fang in the 2-shield. If your opponent is dumb enough to stay, as you see, Mandibuzz will lose the 2-shield, straight Poison Fang. So that's why I like Golbat. Straight Poison Fang, you can beat Mandibuzz, you can also beat Umbreon. Given that you're going to get Psychic through shields, and then that's going to really suck for you. But super solid team, and I like it a lot. And like I mentioned, there are win conditions for you against Wormadam and against Frostless if you do see. And that's game. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Even though we have a few things out here like Overquill, freaking Swaying, Quillfish and everything like that, and Toxapex running around, luckily this meta is still relatively the same. Outside of a Swaying Quillfish, like I mentioned, outside of those two, this team is that is pretty much very similarly with the same with few additions to it. However, I would say the new Pokemon outside of Toxapex doesn't really change the dynamic too much. If you think about it, Tentacruel was really great for the Halloween Cup, and you just replace that with a Toxapex, and it's pretty much the same thing. Well, Toxapex is more annoying, but then if you get Acid Spray with Tentacruel, then you just hate life and you want to punch something, and you just want to punch it in the face or something like that. But yes, the Halloween Cup is coming back, and like I mentioned, not too much of a difference. The meta is relatively the same with but a few additions. And there's also still a month and some change left for Season 12. So you still got a long way to go before the next season comes around. So I wouldn't stress about Legend. I'm still not stressing about it. I'm going to do all my battles, make Legend, and then next season I am done making Legend unless there's some overhaul. I will still make content. I'll still get to rank 20 and I will still make content, but other than that, it's just not freaking worth it anymore. I'm so done with trying to make up. I'm so done starting a season with lag, and it causes me to fall behind a lot. And I don't like the idea of losing 4-1s and 5-0s anymore just because of stupid. Because we know this game will never be perfect, but for some odd reason, it never operates at. How does a one-on-one game where I'm tapping on my phone hurt, like, freeze way more than games that have like 50 people dropping in or something like that, like Apex or Battle Royales. I just don't understand it. Given those games still have bugs sometimes, but still Pokemon Go has no excuse. There's really no excuse at this point. Now, I don't expect everything to be perfect, but at least most of the time it's operational. Pokemon Go has never been mostly operational, which is why Salt Lake City only had 40 competitors, because no one, you can't even go the main player base to even stomach Pokemon Go PvP, because no one wants to do it. Or not, no one wants to do it. A very small pool of people really care about Pokemon Go PvP to that extent. But do me a huge favor, please like, subscribe, and comment for the YouTube algorithm. I really do appreciate y'all. If y'all don't like Pokemon Go PvP, or if y'all are getting sick of Pokemon Go PvP, on the bright side, Scarlet and Violet is coming out soon. And I'll be doing content on that as well. So, I really do appreciate y'all's support. And let's hope that one day, Niantic finally gets to stick up their butt and takes it out and finally does something to make PvP something really good and competitive. Because this ain't it, Chief. Good luck on your good battle sets, and I will see y'all on the next video.
That